Pope Francis's death has revived apocalyptic prophecies, with some claiming he's the last pope before Rome's destruction. Conspiracy theorists are convinced the Vatican's hiding massive secrets. Right now, the Church is in limbo, with power plays happening behind closed doors as everyone waits for the next pope. These are dark things that could happen now that the Pope has died. Now that Pope Francis has passed, a bunch of old prophecies are back in the spotlight, especially the one from St. Malachy, the 12th century archbishop, who supposedly had a vision of every pope until the end of time. His list named Pope Francis as Peter the Roman, the last pope before Rome is destroyed and the world faces judgment. Spooky stuff, and whether you believe in it or not, people are already saying it's all lining up a little too well. The timing, the chaos in the world, the weird weather, it's all getting folded into this doomsday narrative. You've also got people dragging Nostradamus into it because, of course they are, pulling vague lines about great loss in Rome and spinning them into the end of the Vatican prediction. Is it overblown? I mean, maybe, but maybe not. Some are convinced the next man in white won't be legit, or worse, he'll be something more sinister altogether. Every time there's a change in the papacy, conspiracy theories flare up again. Some people are convinced that the Vatican is sitting on secrets so big they'd shake the foundations of faith itself. You know, stuff like the real contents of the Vatican archives, proof of extraterrestrial life, or suppressed gospels that paint a very different picture of Jesus. The theory goes that with a new pope coming in, there's either a window where some of that info could slip out or be buried deeper. The fact that Pope Francis was already talking more openly about things like evolution, aliens, and climate change, it only adds fuel to this. Was he softening people up for some big reveal, or was he silenced before he could go too far? It's all speculation, but that doesn't stop people online from absolutely lighting up with rumors. Whether or not the church has anything explosive to hide, and power shift this big always makes people start asking the same question. What aren't we being told? When the Pope dies, the Vatican basically shuts down at the top. All major positions tied to the papacy are immediately vacated. Secretary of State, prefects, most of the big decision makers, they're out. It's part of a rule that's been around for centuries, designed to make sure nobody tries to grab power before a new pope is officially chosen. During this time, no major decisions can be made about doctrine, appointments, or Vatican policy. It's not total chaos, but it does leave the church in a strange place. Only a few officials like the Carmelengo are still active, and even he's mostly just handling logistics, securing the papal residence, organizing the funeral, prepping for the conclave. Until a new pope is elected, the church kind of comes to a standstill. This period usually lasts a few weeks, but considering how divided the church is right now, it could stretch out longer than usual. Behind the scenes, there's already pressure building about what direction the next pope should take. Now, before we get to the potential direction though, let's talk a bit more about what happens first. When the pope passes, there's a whole set of rituals that have been followed for centuries. The body must be handled in a very specific way. First off, they dress and anoint the pope's body, making sure every detail is just right. But the most dramatic part is when the body is placed in 3 coffins. The first is a simple wooden box, followed by a lead one for protection. The final one is usually made of cedar, symbolizing eternity. They're seen as necessary for preserving both the Pope's body and the church's integrity. If anything gets skipped or changed, expect the traditionalists to get really upset. It's more than just a ritual for them. It's a warning that could mean bad things for the future of the church. So while everyone's focused on the big picture of a new pope, the little details of these ancient mourning practices matter a lot. But before the funeral even starts, Vatican factions are busy. You've got the traditionalists on one side, people who thought Pope Francis was too liberal, and the progressives on the other who want to keep pushing the church into the modern world. Both sides are trying to line up support behind their preferred candidate, and a lot of the negotiations happen in private. Cardinals start meeting quietly. Promises get made, stuff like who will get certain posts, who will be promoted, and what kinds of policies the new pope might support. There are even rumors about governments and private interests trying to influence the choice. It's not a free-for-all, but it's not necessarily clean either. The conclave itself, the vote for the new pope, is secret, but by the time the cardinals walk in, a lot of minds are already made up. Depending on who wins, the direction of the Catholic Church could shift hard toward tradition or the opposite way. You've probably heard rumors about a mysterious figure known as the Black Pope who supposedly controls the Vatican. The Black Pope is a title given to the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. While the Black Pope doesn't technically hold the power to select the next pope, they often have a lot of influence behind the scenes. After the Pope dies, the Jesuit general could be a key player in the election, especially since a lot of cardinals have close ties to the society. The idea that this hidden figure pulls strings from the shadows feeds into this larger conspiracy theory that the Jesuits secretly rule the Vatican. If the Jesuit general has their hand in the election, it could shift the direction of the church for years to come. It's a little unsettling when you think about it, that there's this big, powerful organization quietly working behind the curtains while the world sits and watches a public spectacle to choose the next pope. When a pope dies, the Vatican isn't just dealing with the loss of a leader, it's dealing with a serious mess that could come pouring out if they're not careful. Yes, I'm getting into all the stuff the church has worked very hard to keep buried. Financial crimes, essays, scandals. The moment the pope passes, everything is sensitive. The files, documents, and emails, they get locked down. This is when things start vanishing into thin air. Any piece of information that could cause a scandal or challenge the Vatican's carefully crafted image, gone. Financial deals with shady political figures, dodgy investments, and the worst of the scandals are at risk of being swept under the rug during the confusion. In fact, some say the death of a pope could conveniently be timed to help the Vatican quietly bury or downplay these scandals while the world's attention is distracted by the transition of power. It's an open secret that when a new pope is selected, part of the deal is making sure that certain dark chapters of the church's history never see the light of day. The Pope's death doesn't just affect the Vatican, it has a ripple effect across the globe, especially in terms of political alliances. The Catholic Church has historically played a huge role in international politics, from influencing elections to navigating diplomatic tensions. After the Pope's death, the world leaders will be watching the selection process very closely, especially those in countries with large Catholic populations. Some countries may already be lobbying for a new pope who aligns with their interests, whether it's a pope more progressive on social issues or one more conservative, sticking to traditional stances. They know that having a pope on their side can shift things in their favor, especially in Latin America, the Philippines, or parts of Europe. The Vatican's influence on global politics has always been big, and during a transition, things can be felt across borders as different governments try to tip the balance in their favor. Now, there's always been conspiracies about secret groups trying to pull strings inside the Vatican. Groups like the Freemasons and even more shadowy circles have been accused of quietly slipping their people into church leadership. Most of this stuff is impossible to prove, but the timing is what keeps people talking. When a pope dies and the church is in this transitionary period, that's when power is up for grabs. Some believe this is when these groups really get to work behind closed doors, out of the public eye, trying to tip the scales and get a pope elected who will support their goals. I don't know why I pointed at me when I said that. I'm not involved in this. The Vatican has officially banned Freemasonry for centuries, but rumors say that ties have never fully been cut. There have been claims, some by ex-bishops and insiders, that high-ranking church officials have been secret members for decades, and every time a conclave is held, those old suspicions resurface. No proof, maybe, but when no one's allowed to see what goes on in the Sistine Chapel, it's not hard to believe that there's more going on than meets the eye. The Vatican has always been tight-lipped about its money, and with a leadership vacuum, things can get messy. It's the perfect time for financial deals and shady stuff to slip through the cracks. Look at the Vatican Bank, for example. Over the years, there have been some scandals, to say the least: money laundering, dodgy investments. When a pope dies and the Vatican enters this period of uncertainty, those deals and transactions could fly under the radar. And it's not just the bank. The Vatican controls billions in property and business investments around the world. Without a steady hand guiding the ship, financial decisions can be made without any real oversight, leading to shady deals that would have been much harder to pull off under normal circumstances. Point is, while everyone's focused on the transition of a new pope, a lot of money might be quietly changing hands, and not all of it for the better. With all of that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.